Hello and welcome to All for United. It's another United Daily podcast. I'm Ben. It's good to be back on a Wednesdays from now on. We're going to be joined by Dale O'Donnell from Stretchy News. So Dale, it's good to have you coughing with us this afternoon. Thank you for joining us once again. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling on cloud nine, and not just because of that result last night, of course, but also we've got a special guest on the show today, former Red. We're saying that once a Red, always a Red. What am I saying? Daniel Nardiello is with us. Daniel, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Cheers for having me on.
That's good to have you on. And thank goodness you're on today after last night's show and not on this time last week after the Sheffield United game. This is going to be a completely different conversation we have today. But as ever, after a midweek match day, we like to do this little feature within a podcast called Twitter Reacts. And what we do is we use tweets, reactionary tweets from last night to steer the conversation that we have. I've got quite a few here from all different kinds of people on Twitter and loads of people who are having their say last night. But I think I want to start actually with this, Dale, and get your reaction to not this tweet, but this header on Twitter. I was on Daniel's profile earlier on, and this is enough to make any football lover jealous. Look at that header. Look at that.
Fellow Irishman.
Look at it. Like as if you couldn't get any more jealous. Daniel. Go on, Dale.
Daniel, what was he like to train with? You're obviously intimidated as a young lad stepping into the same dressing room as Roy Keane.
Do you know what? He was phenomenal. Like, I know he's got this reputation and obviously he's intimidating. He was a true leader, he was a captain, but ultimately he was brilliant. He expected the most out of us, especially as young lads when we were training with the first team. But ultimately on match days, even when he played a couple of resi games, he was phenomenal. He was a proper leader. He encouraged you. He gave positive vibes constantly. If you were taking the mick, then he made sure you knew about it. But even when I was playing for Barnsley and stuff against Sunderland when he was manager of, he still came over to me after the game, put his arm around my shoulder and gave me a bit of advice after the game. So for me, he's a true captain, a proper leader.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, Dale, in terms of that and going back, Daniel, in terms of your playing days, does it all feel like a bit of a blur now? Does it all sort of, or are there certain situations or certain memories that you can still remember? Like the way you spoke there about Keno, how infectious he was and sort of how you have great memories with him. Is there a standout memory from your time at United on or off the pitch?
I love training with the first team and being involved in that and being on the away trips and home games, and I was involved in the squad. I'd like to have played more first team games, but the one that really stands out for me was my debut against Arsenal in the League Cup, and we got battered 4-0. But to put on that shirt and represent Manchester United, it was a dream come true, really. So I'd have to say that.
And do you want to show us the shirt? Because it's behind you there, isn't it? Right behind you. There it is. We were having this conversation before going live. That is one of my favourite United kits, the reversible. You remember that, don't you, Dale? Gold and black on his. Oh, perfect. What's a kit? It was a great kit. Let's move on anyway. Let's jump in because I want to get your guys' thoughts on yesterday's game. There's loads of talking points for us to cover, and I've got loads of tweets here, and I actually want to start with this tweet because last week when we spoke, Dale, and we were having a conversation about where United were, where we were at, I don't think at any point where we sat here thinking, do you know what? United, with the way that we go forward, with the way we're creating at the moment, I'm comfortable in saying Manchester United are now the top goal scorers in the Premier League with 46 goals. People talk about how ferocious City are at the moment, how fantastic they're playing. Jamie Jackson, one of the first to put this out and bring my attention to it. We're now the top scorers in the Premier League. That's no mean feat. Why is this not being spoken about more, Dale?
I think, and I mentioned it to you before we started recording, that last week, the view on this was very, very different. People were very critical of Martial. He was going through a goal-scoring drought. Rashford performance haven't really been at that high standard, and Cavani too came into those big games last week and wasn't the answer. So people were asking lots of questions, and I just thought last night was the perfect response because we know the ability these players possess. We know they're very talented, and sometimes it's a matter of, are they consistent enough? Can they push on? Can Martial become that elite striker? We still don't know, but it was nice last night, especially for him, someone that's got a lot of criticism, to come off the bench, score 2 goals and create one himself as well. So look, I think we can look back really positively on last night, but as for the goals, let's not forget that it's not every week that we score 9.
Yeah, 100%, Dale. And on that, Daniel, it isn't every week that you score 9 goals. Of course, we're talking now about being the top goal scorers in the Premier League. To score 9 goals against any team is not easy. Look, they had obviously a red card really early on in the game. I'm just wondering, from your point of view, for people using the excuse that they had someone sent off early, how does that affect a team? How does that affect the other 10 players that are left on the pitch when you get a player gets a red card so early on in a game?
Well, I can tell you firsthand, playing against 10 men is a lot harder than people think. And I know it went down to 9 men in the end, but ultimately to break a team down and score 9 goals, regardless of how many players on the pitch, is phenomenal. So they kept on going, they kept on plugging away. Fernandez, Martial just mentioned that they kept on going, kept on trying to create chances. Shaw kept on bombing down the left-hand side. And like I say, they kept on plugging away. And 9 goals in any game is phenomenal. So regardless of how many men were left on the pitch, I think it's a great achievement. And to be top goal scorer in the Premier League, happy days.
Have you got any question marks, Daniel, around United's attack, around our capability to create? Because obviously we saw the 6-2 drumming against Leeds. We had a 9-0 the other day. Yeah, obviously that Sheffield United game happened. The Arsenal game happened. We can't forget that. And we had a little run where we were winning games, but we were winning them by the skin of our teeth. So could this potentially be the platform of confidence for our attackers to go out, create more and to start scoring more goals?
100%. I think goal scorers, attacking players, they're confidence players, and you score 2 goals, 3 goals, 9 goals in a game. The confidence is going to be sky high, so they can take this forward now and start, keep on creating the chances, but more importantly, putting them away. I personally still think we need an out-and-out number 9 who can just smash goals in left, right, and centre. For me, someone like Haaland would be phenomenal. But yeah, the quality is definitely there. And I think Cavani, I know he hasn't scored loads, and we discussed him briefly before, but for me, he's showing the other strikers how a striker should be working in terms of his work rate and movement.
Yeah, Dale, on Cavani and on that, do you feel like you saw enough yesterday from Mason Greenwood to get him back in at the weekend? I thought he was one that was top class yesterday, even without a goal.
Yeah, I think Greenwood is just someone that needs games. I know he had a difficult first half of the season, and Solskjaer made the right decision to kind of keep him away from the first team for a bit. But he's back in the mix again. I just think he needs games. We've seen what he could do last season. He's an incredible goal scorer. Sometimes he pulls goals out of nowhere, and that kind of ability in a young player is rare. So I think with the likes of him, and if he doesn't go on a run of scoring goals, people just need to be a bit patient and be happy he's getting game time. That's what I want to see more between now and the end of the season, because I'm sure long term he is the answer.
Yeah, 100%. And Daniel, you hit on a second ago, perseverance and the way we persevered. And one of the names you mentioned was Bruno. A lot of people on Twitter, I love your thoughts on this as an ex-pro. A lot of people on Twitter saying, well, now's the perfect chance to take Bruno off at half time and rest him. Let's get him off. Let's rest him. You've played with many professionals and quality footballers. Footballers like Bruno Fernandes. Do they ever have a word in a manager's ear at halftime in a game like that and go, "Don't you dare take! I do not want to go off that pitch. I seek opportunities. Keep me on." And what do you feel about this whole sort of outcry all the time to give Bruno Fernandes rest?
Well, I don't think he needs to say anything, because every time he comes off the pitch, he's shaking his head, he's disappointed, he's gutted to be coming off the pitch. And I love that. I think, why would you want to be brought off? You're playing football for a living. You want to create as many chances as you can. You want to score as many goals as you can. So I think everybody knows his thoughts and feelings, and he wants to play every minute of every game. And to be honest here, I know what people are saying about resting players, but ultimately the he's fit as a fiddle. He doesn't stop running. And to me, unless his form drastically changes, there's no need to give him a rest. Yes, pick and choose certain games where you might not need him, but ultimately he's got to play every single Premier League game.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I think yesterday, look, he popped up with 3 goal contributions. He had a bit of a barren spell. Again, you say forward players, feed off of confidence. I thought Bruno lost the ball more than he kept hold of it in that first half. But then as soon as he had that shot on target and put that beautiful ball in the box, he was a completely different player. It takes one thing to go right for you to create a couple of moments of magic and get that confidence back. And I was really impressed with how Bruno persevered and led that team going forward yesterday. Let's hit on this tweet then from someone who I know watches the channel quite regularly. United_analytics said, beating Southampton isn't for everyone. And then obviously puts up that picture of the fact that Liverpool lost against Southampton this season. But I suppose what I want to hit on here, Dale, Is a United ever going to get the credit they deserve for that victory yesterday?
Well, how much credit do they deserve? Because we spoke already about the sending off at the beginning. That drastically changed the game. And I also want to give United credit too that they didn't stop throughout. They were relentless. They kept wanting to go for goals. And as a fan, that's exactly what I wanted to see. So I'm very happy with it. But it is also a Southampton side who were pretty much without their midfield. Had a midfielder sent off at the beginning of the game. But I don't want to rubbish it either as nothing, because United just took advantage of that. But it doesn't change really. It doesn't change the fact that we still need to improve against the big teams. It doesn't change the fact that we need to basically replicate the form that we showed from January last year to the end of this last season. We need to do that again. Beating Southampton 9-0 doesn't convince me that we're definitely going to do that, but winning every game is a boost.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Daniel, as I said, I agree with those points that Dale has made there, but also we've been harping on that we want United to make a statement, red cards or not, quality of team or not. Was that a statement from United last night?
100%. I think many teams could go down to 9-10 men and the opposition wouldn't score 9 goals past them. Yes, they were depleted anyway, but ultimately they were ruthless. United, we were absolutely ruthless. We didn't stop going, like as I've already mentioned, and having that killer instinct in a team is exactly what you want to see. So regardless of the lack of players on the pitch or the depleted team, the starting 11 that actually started, you can only beat the team that's in front of you. And to equal a Premier League record of 9-0, again, I'll say it again, is phenomenal. So fair play to the lads because they cracked on. I'm not convinced we're going to go ahead and win the league because of this win. Of course not, but it does definitely set a precedent and set a statement.
Yeah, and it does close down that goal difference. We don't want to be in that situation again. And the teams above us / around us all play today and tomorrow. So this puts the onus on them to also go out and perform. They will look at that United result yesterday and go, bloody yeah, oh, that's no easy feat. As you said earlier on, Daniel, as an ex-pro, playing against 10 men is not easy. So I think any professional footballer out there looking at United's result yesterday would go, they went and truly broke them down. Any question marks on United being able to break teams down, they were answered yesterday, I think.
Just as well as that, Ben, the last few weeks, the reaction to kind of City's resurgence in the league, at the beginning of the season, they had to catch up on a few games. They had their injuries to Aguero and now Kevin De Bruyne, but they still seem to be winning games now at ease, except for Sheffield United. But the other week when they put so many goals away against West Brom, the reaction to that, right, wasn't that they were playing a struggling side. It was that, oh, look at City scoring all these goals. The league is wrapped up now. The league is completely wrapped up. And what I'm pointing out is the difference. The Manchester United absolutely annihilated Southampton last night. And the reaction is not so much that. So I don't buy into this thing that the people are trying to say, or the media are trying to say that Manchester United could win the league, or fans are trying to say it. I think most United fans I speak to are quite realistic into what they're seeing, happy with the progress this season. They're not expecting a league title because that was never on the agenda. If we could see this season that we're challenging and doing what City and Liverpool do to these lesser teams, that's a big step in the right direction.
100%. And building confidence amongst us fans is really important as well, showing that Ollie is also learning from mistakes that he's made and making those decisions. I actually thought, I commended him last night. I thought the fact that he made those substitutions early was absolutely spot on. Obviously, you always worry about an injury, but at the end of the day, players like James, Van der Beek, Martial, they do deserve game time and they need game time and they need confidence. And that was a perfect place to throw them in for 45, 30 minutes to be able to build upon that. And I think on the point you just made, Dale, for me, all I'm seeing is pundits who are paid to do a professional job talking about a Martial dive. A historical moment happened last night with one of the greatest football clubs in English football that there has ever been. No one's talking about that. Whether, the older fans have seen better United teams, care more about us winning trophies than the results, of games, like, a 1-0 win, so to speak, no more different than a 9-0 win if we go on and win the title. 3 points is 3 points. We equaled our all-time score in the Premier League. It's been, 20, how many years? 25 years, 26 years or whatever 25. It is, since we won a game 9-0. That it doesn't happen every day. That's my lifetime, by the way, guys. Sorry to put that out there. That's my life. Like literally, it's crazy that, you know, this is being downplayed. It was a monumental feat yesterday, and I think that it needs to be talked up more. But of course, it means nothing if at the weekend we end up struggling, because again, all the negativity will just come pressing down, and that's what happens when you're the biggest club in English football, right? This next tweet I want to hit on is not actually from a fan; it's from Who Scored. But the reason why I've picked this up is because I want us to talk about this player, because he's just been absolutely phenomenal. Luke Shaw. Yesterday registered 2 assists in a single game for the first time in his career. Rightly pointing out he's in the form of his life. Dale, how impressed have you been with Luke Shaw this season?
Amazing. I think he's constantly kind of like building blocks. And not too long ago, I think it was 2 seasons ago, he was one of our most improved players that season. You look at his leg break, everything he's been through, even with previous managers, some who publicly slated him, and that's not easy for certain players to bounce back from. But I think under Solskjaer, he's a player that the manager has worked very closely with to get the best out of, because he's seen potential in him. And we're really seeing that now. It's not just an improved player, Ben, but he looks so mature. He's 25, I think, but Luke Shaw was a youngster a year or 2 ago. And I'm watching him now on the pitch, and he looks like an experienced, almost veteran-like in his performance in the past month or so. Hope it can continue, because it shows that after Tellez coming in, that maturity was edged out of him. And I just hope at the end of the season there's no injuries, because he's in top form. And right now, there's not a better left-back in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. And Daniel, how as a former pro, it'd be good to get your insight on how important is it to have a fullback that can do both jobs, being able to go forward and create, but also be able to be so solid defensively, because that is Luke Shaw. For you, is he becoming an all-rounded footballer now? Is he becoming an all-rounded player?
No, absolutely. I think fullbacks nowadays with the modern game, they're a key position on the pitch. You need your fullbacks to be up and down, be able to defend and be able to create. You see that all the time with the top teams. So the fact that he's been United's best player, hasn't he, the last couple of months. He's been phenomenal. So again, my worry with him is getting that injury, because he has been quite injury prone and quite unlucky. But like Dale said, playing underneath Solskjaer, he's brought that confidence out of him. He's given him a running the game, and the signing of Tellez probably did give him a kick up the backside a little bit, just to get that maturity, to get that level of focus, and it's showing now. And in every week he's been, like I say, United's top player.
Have you, Daniel, in your career, seen players react differently to challenges, like having someone brought in to challenge you for your position? How did you always react to have someone potentially there who you're challenging for a place in the starting lineup? And how have you seen others react to it, Daniel?
Poor Daniel had Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Well, look, at the end of the day, because Daniel's the one here right now, I always preferred Mr. Nardiello up top. So, however, if Ruud was on this call, I might say the opposite, Daniel, I've got to say. But no, how have you seen players react to a challenge like that? And how much credit does a player deserve when they embrace that challenge and come out the other side?
Well, I'll take it back to my own career. I remember a time when I was at Barnsley, and I was literally the only striker fit and the only striker that was, realistically going to play week in, week out. And it kind of put me in a comfort zone. And you don't want to be in a comfort zone as a football player, and you're going to play every week. You want that. I wanted that competition. So the second Barnsley signed a couple of strikers, I kind of gave myself a kick up the backside, and it got me playing, because ultimately I knew I was fighting for my place in the team. And I think competition for places, especially at the top level like Manchester United, if not any other level, is key, because you've got to perform, otherwise you're not playing. And there's nothing worse than sitting on a bench and watching your team win 9-0, I can tell you, because you want to be out on that pitch.
Of course. How do you guys reckon? So I don't want to dwell on this too much, but how much do you reckon Paul Pogba was getting frustrated sat there? Because as an attacking player who can really influence games, I'm not saying, by the way, he's getting frustrated, he's going to leave. I'm just saying, as a footballer, Paul Pogba sat there going, "Oh, I wish I could have a piece of this. Wish I could have a piece of this."
But isn't that what you want? All these players wanting.
Yeah.
Donny van de Beek came in at halftime. I'm sure he's very hungry for game time, but that's what Solskjaer has created. Some people might have thought that he got Donny van de Beek and he had too many players that were similar. But the way that signing seemed to me was, you look at City the past few years and the amount of options that they have. They have great players that don't start games every week. And that's something that we didn't have. We were almost relying on players to come off the bench that really shouldn't be anywhere near a Manchester United starting 11. I think what Solskjaer's done, he's made the team really competitive. And there might be times in which we don't have our forward scoring like maybe last week. But if you can get that kind of reaction from players, and those ones that are being left out, and they're looking, thinking, I wish I was on the pitch. I can't wait till I'm playing next. That just bodes well. And I think a lot of positivity. I want to bring positivity to this, because you go on Twitter and stuff, and people just want to be negative for the sake of it. Every game United play, the starting 11 comes out, and I'm very, like, I sit back. I don't care about starting 11. I want to watch the game 90 minutes and see what happens. Every player that plays warrants his place. But people are just negative before a ball is kicked. It doesn't matter. Like, these agendas. Oh, Daniel James, come on, what's he doing? He came on, he scored. Every player deserves his place that's in that squad. I just think the negativity that's around this club and the position we're in, it doesn't match.
Do you know what I love with Daniel James the other day? He came on, made some absolutely brilliant runs, by the way. Put a couple of really good balls in the box as well. But there was one moment where he flashed the ball across the box with his left foot, and it wasn't a great cross. And straight away, see, that's the problem with Daniel James. He hasn't got the quality. He's not great. He can't do anything. That finish, by the way, was excellent. Absolutely excellent with the way that he guided that in with the side of his foot. It's a fantastic goal. I just want to take a moment before we move on just to say hello to just some of the guys who are in the live chat. If you are watching right now on any other platform, come over to youtube.com/all4united. You might be listening to this later on as well. We go live with the United Daily every lunchtime on the All for United YouTube account. Hit that subscribe button. Help us get towards 3K. We're almost there. youtube.com/all4united. And of course, give this video on our channel a like. It will help us reach more Reds. Hello to Stuart. Hello to Bijwatch. Hello to Abdullah, hello to Heli, and hello to Stuart, who are all in the live chat. Of course, if you are watching on YouTube, get involved with the guys. No one bites in that live chat. Talk about the things that we're discussing. You can agree, you can disagree, but have your say. Come over to the live chat. Right, we're doing a Twitter React show, by the way, so let me jump in with the next tweet. And I absolutely love this one because I was watching the game and I was thinking, is Harry Maguire playing for Bruno Fernandes's position today? Here's a tweet from United Arena, who I absolutely love on Twitter, by the way. Go give those guys a follow. They're brilliant. Here's our on-ball average positions for just the first half, right? And I'd imagine that everyone's probably 2 yards further up in the second half because we literally camped out in their half. Look at where that number 5 is. He's even further forward than Fred in terms of his average positioning. Harry Maguire yesterday, Danny, for you. I thought he led by example in terms of pushing that team up and not letting us sort of, pull back and ease up. And as you said earlier on, ease on that relentless side of our game. What did you make of Harry Maguire yesterday?
I mean, yeah, I think it was inevitable that he was going to take up those positions. He's a ball-playing centre-half. He's very, very good in those positions and starts to pick out passes. So it's no surprise that he was in that position for the majority of his touches. But yeah, to me, I think he's growing into a leader week in, week out as well. You can see him demanding things more, talking more, instructions out to fellow teammates more. And I do think he's really, really grown into this, and he could be a top United captain going forward. And I really like Harry Maguire. I get sick to death of people slating him and his price tag on Twitter or whatever social media platform it is, because he is a top defender and he can really help United progress over the next few years.
I completely agree with that 100%. I'm turning into a massive Harry Maguire fanboy. I think he's absolutely superb. And also yesterday, again, Dale, you say about Twitter, when that red card was given, people were actually calling out Harry Maguire for not running at the referee and getting in his face and making sure that red card was going to put out. And then there was another angle shown, and Harry Maguire I've never seen him run so fast. Steamrolled to McTominay to check he was okay, and then had a word with the ref. And by then the ref had already sent the player off. But I think the fact that he was going to his teammate before trying to influence the decision in what was quite frankly a horrendous challenge. It says a lot about him. What have you made of Harry Maguire's progress, Dale? And, could Bruno Fernandes be in trouble there?
It's like Ronald Koeman last night, wasn't he, pressing forward and playing like a playmaker? But yeah, look, Harry Maguire, I've never doubted that he can be a top defender. I think this season's been a tough one for him. He started off with a lot of stuff in the media and he probably wasn't in the right place, and his performances were affected by that, I felt. I think when he plays well, he plays very, very well. And when he plays bad, he plays very, very bad. Just that defence just doesn't fill me much confidence yet. And I think that it's an area that we've seen this season needs a bit of work. But I look at the other areas that have improved, and you have to trust the process. I have to trust that next season with maybe one addition, maybe beside Harry Maguire, that things might be better. I still worry about us in set pieces. a lot of the time, a lot of our goals come from set pieces, and it's just, I look at Harry Maguire, and that's what he was brought in to do, was to kind of offer that sense of be solid. And last night, of course, it was easy for them. They had men sent off, and United had the ball for most of the game. But yeah, I'm not fully convinced. I think he can be a top defender on his day, but I'm still worried about United defensively. And I think a lot of teams will look at who's starting, and if it's a partnership of Maguire and Lindelof, I see a lot of centre forwards in the Premier League probably licking their lips at that.
Yeah, do you think it's a case of just finding him that perfect partner? It's not, so to speak, because I honestly, like, since we can even say the first 3 games, I don't think anyone in the United shirt really had a great game in any of those 3. I think since that international break, though, and especially after the second international break when he got sent off for England, I just think he's been fantastic. Like, I don't think he has actually personally put a foot wrong, so to speak. Obviously, that heading goal from that corner will hopefully fill in with a bit of confidence, because I do feel like he should be scoring more in the opposition box from corners. He gets the opportunities to. So do you think it is more just, finding his perfect partner more than actually, Harry Maguire being a problem?
Yeah. Well, you see, when we've seen Eric Bailly start alongside him in recent weeks, I was thrilled because it was that player beside him with pace. The problem with Eric Bailly is you just can't rely on him. You can't rely on him to stay fit because he gets into those tackles that he ends up getting injured over. But the thing is, it's annoying because he's a brilliant player. I think if we could keep Eric Bailly fit between now and the end of the season, and Harry Maguire alongside him, that we could actually surprise a few people. But it is the biggest problem is the partnership when it's himself and Lindelof. I'm not convinced by it. And I don't think Maguire helps Lindelof. I don't think Lindelof helps Maguire. It's a bad mix. And of course, you could go back at games where we kept clean sheets and where the both of them played well. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I look at other teams and they look at that defense and they fancy their chances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. Daniel, do you want to any final comments on the United defence or the defensive partnership? What do you make of Lindelof and so to speak? When it comes to Maguire, you mentioned earlier on is a top player, but what still worries you about that back line?
Well, I think the set pieces that Dale mentioned, for me, if Maguire doesn't win it, who else does? Because for me, he does win a hell of a lot of the balls that are coming to the box. So I do think he needs help out from other players. I know Matic sometimes gets on the end of those balls as well. But for me, he does do that. And I understand the argument that, the other strikers, other attacking teams could look at our defence and think, they're there for the taking. But I also think a world-class defensive central midfielder, so Matic 5 make a huge difference as well, because it's not just a back four, it's a team as a whole. There was a couple of incidents in the Sheffield United game with players not tracking back and working hard enough. So unless the whole team are doing it, it's the defence that are obviously going to look like, and they're going to be the scapegoat. I would choose Bailly. I do like Bailly to go alongside Maguire, but there are the risks that Dale was talking about as well. But ultimately, it's a work in progress. That they've got to get this consistency, playing a similar back four every week, and that's how teams get stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and as you say, feeding off a confidence as well. Clean sheet last night, although thanks to a certain piece of technology that we're just going to move on and talk about now. Let's go into this. We like to throw left field slightly with a couple of tweets as well from people who aren't necessarily United fans, although I do think DT is a secret United fan. This tweet got a lot of heat last night. So the idea of VAR is to help the officials when there's been a clear and obvious error. Think of Aubameyang's goal against United that was initially offside. Then why is it used for someone's toe being offside then? That's not a clear and obvious error, is it? Do you know what's great, Dale? We've got a forward on the show today. Daniel, for you, what's going wrong with VAR and how unfair do you think it is on strikers and defenders? Let's be honest, because yesterday, those two penalties, I've got to say, I'm not convinced Luiz's is a penalty. And with Martial, I'm definitely not convinced that's a red card.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of VAR. I think even the Che Adams disallowed goal for Southampton, not that I want them to score a goal, of course not, but it's so harsh when you're talking millimetres. To me, unless it's massively obvious and there's a huge gap between the players, then give the offsides. But the referees are looking at penalties and still giving the penalties and again sending players off like we saw last night. So what chance have you got if the referees can't use VAR correctly? For me, it's a bit of a scam, and it's disappointing. You can't even celebrate goals properly sometimes. So I'm not a big fan. And they need to tweak it to make sure it works for everyone.
Yeah, I think what's difficult with this, Dale, is we've had conversations about it before, and I want to get your views on some of the decisions yesterday in a minute. I still don't know what the purpose of VAR is. I thought it was a cleaning up act. So potentially, if there was a clear and obvious error, then VAR will only get involved. I thought that if there wasn't a clear and obvious error, it can then help the referee by saying, go and look at the screen. But it seems like VAR are also now telling the refs what is happening and giving them the actual decision to make, i.e. the Benterick red card yesterday. It seems that VAR told the ref, to us, this is a red card incident. Please review, and obviously, change your decision, basically. What is your understanding of VAR, Dale? How is it implemented at the moment? And then how does that need to change? Because it's not working at the moment. It's making more problems than it is solving problems within football.
Well, the whole point I thought at the beginning, and it was something that was raised, that we're going to have nothing to speak about anymore because we won't have any controversial talking points from games. If anything, it's been worse. There's lacking even more clarity than ever. The problem is you have this thing on BT Sport and Sky Sports where the referee comes in and gives his view during a VAR incident, and sometimes he might say something and he's wrong too. And that's what I think Daniel is getting to. Is what are the rules? And before, people used to joke about, do you know the offside rule and blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, I don't think anyone knows the rules of football. I've looked at it at the start of every season. I look at what's changing. The offside thing might change or whatever. But it's still the same talking points every season. Every weekend in the Premier League, there's an issue with VAR. So has it worked? No. Do we see it getting better anytime soon? No, because we're still making the same problems. Same mistakes still being made and nothing being cleared up. And I don't think people in the VAR studio want to take responsibility some of the time, and the referees don't want to take responsibility. I think everyone's afraid now to make mistakes. You can see it in the referees, and now they're checking the screen more. A few months ago, we were complaining, saying they never check the screens. So I think it's a lot of panic. There's probably a lot of money gone into it. They don't want to rub their hands with it already. But at the moment, it's a disaster. And I'm someone also that with the introduction of VAR, I thought, great, the game could progress from this. This is a good introduction. But what I've seen is, look, we're on these shows talking every week. And every week, VAR comes up as a negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's not
100%. I was going to butt in there, though, just to quickly say, but is that the problem? Are the VAR officials taking too much responsibility, potentially?
Yeah, probably. And then the referees then in that awkward situation where they don't want to be the ones that are put on the spot. I don't think there's any clarity of who actually makes the decision.
Yeah, and then there's no point. There's no point in having a ref running around the field. You might as well stick him on a big chair like an umpire. Like literally, because at the end of the day, if VAR are going to get that involved with every decision, what's the point in having a ref millimeters away to make a decision? Danny, what about you? I think Dale makes a really good point there about what are the rules in football. When you were back playing, and I keep referring back to when you were playing, how good were your understandings of every single rule in that rule book? Would it be something that you regularly go over? Would it be something regularly that, you would hear from refs and the club would tell you that, look, this has changed, that has changed, be aware of that? How would that whole process work to study the game and get to actually know what is allowed and what isn't allowed? Because with a number of decisions being made at the moment, even the players are baffled.
Yeah, it was a lot simpler back then, I can tell you that much. I think if there was new rules that came in the off season, we were told about them, and we were told to think about them. Obviously, whilst we were playing, and it was brought into the games and the friendlies pre-season, and it was just simpler. You knew the rules, you knew what to expect, and you knew what the referees were going to do. I think the one that really baffled me the other week was it Villa when they played City, and the guy came back in clearly offside, and because Tyrone Miggs touched the ball, he could then go through and score a goal. And I was watching that game thinking, what's going on? And nobody had a clue that was even a rule. So for me, keep it simple. Offside's offside. Red cards are red cards. If it's 50-50, then go with the to keep the game competitive. Don't send players off just for the because VAR is telling you to do it. For me, it's very frustrating and like I say, a lot simpler when I was playing.
Would you hate to be playing today, Daniel?
Do you know what? I've been asked this question before. I think I was offside quite a lot when I was playing, so maybe I could have been onside, so I could have had a few extra goals.
That's it. Marcus Rashford has been watching your videos. We've got you to blame, Daniel, for that. That's what it is. Former club legend Daniel Nardiello has been teaching Marcus Rashford how to be offside by the looks of things. But no, I do sympathise with defenders and attackers. Like I say, I don't think VAR is benefiting either. Like where in the past maybe there used to be a slight onus to give the well, I don't know if you say that it goes in stages, really, in decades. One decade, I feel like maybe 2000 to 2010, the strikers got the benefit of the doubt. Then rules slightly changed in 2010 to since VAR came in, it was more giving the defenders the benefit of the doubt when it comes to like penalty decisions and offsides. But I feel like now no one gets any benefit whatsoever, but then I also don't think decisions are right. I don't feel like VAR is backing up the rules of the game. It's questioning the rules of the game, which brings in confusion. Then the VAR officials really have more power than the on-field refs. And I also don't feel like that's right. What's the point in having a referee if you're not going to let them continue with their decision? For me, and I don't know about you guys, I wouldn't have been disappointed. Look, we're winning comfortably, but even if the game was at 0-0, I still wouldn't have been disappointed if Bentarek got a booking or no card and that was just a penalty. I don't see how that is a clear and obvious error red card. I don't get it.
I think it was a few years ago, Ben, that after Leicester won the Premier League, that the referees kind of changed the way defenders could defend set pieces. If you remember the season, Leicester won, I think, Wes Morgan and it was a Robert Hood. They were very hands-on and they kind of got away with it that season. But the Premier League changed that the following year and the defenders had to be very clear in terms of how much hands-on they were allowed. So they make these little changes every now and again, but the game doesn't need to be touched that much. Okay, I know that we need change, we need clarify, but I think sometimes they're looking at little things that they want to change, and what in the grand scheme of things, that makes it a lot more complicated for referees, officials, because it changes too much. There's never one clear out change. This is what we're going to do. This is how it works. It's always in little writing of the little changes, little tiny margins. It's ridiculous.
But also, Dale, it comes back to what you said earlier on. It comes down to the referee and the VAR officials' understanding of what the rules of the game are. So, for instance, the Billy Sharp, I hate to go back to it, but the Billy Sharp incident on David De Gea, whether you think that's a free kick or not, there were two linesmen, there was a fourth official, there was a referee, and there was someone in VAR who all said that was not a foul on David De Gea and that's a goal. Yet yesterday, the first corner that went in the box, internet slightly went then, was fouled afterwards. Sorry, I'm back now. Was fouled afterwards, and the referee said that's a free kick. So who knows the rules of the game better? Is it Mike Dean or is it the 7 officials that was involved in the Sheffield United game? It's just mind-blowing how there is no proper set in stone rule. Because if that was a foul De Gea yesterday, again, going back to it in hindsight, De Gea was fouled by Billy Sharp. It's just baffling. Absolutely baffling. And for me, that's what VAR should be used for. Okay, ref, you didn't see that, but that was actually a foul. It's a free kick. Done.
Did anyone agree with the red card at the end last night?
With who? For Bentarek?
Yeah. Does anyone agree with that? Does anyone? This is the United show, and we're all saying that it wasn't a penalty.
I think it was a penalty, but I don't think it was a red card. There was contact there. Could Martial have stayed on his feet? Probably. Did he win the penalty? Probably. But there was contact. So again, any time now with the world we're in, Dale, with how this all works and how how penalties are given at the moment, any contact, the striker has the right to go down. And we saw it again with the David Luiz though. But with the David Luiz challenge, the player's studs touched David Luiz's knee. It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. But anyway, let's move on because I don't want to end this show on VAR chatter because we can absolutely just murder the game because of it. I want to talk about this, and I love this, by the way, because I work on a pop music radio station. I follow Anne-Marie. Don't judge me. Singer-songwriter. She's great. And I never knew until the last couple of weeks when she started getting passionate on Twitter that she's a massive Man United fan. And she tweeted out, I think, what we all thought at the end of that match. 9-0, wow, what a game. So I want to end, Dale, simply on this. It doesn't happen often. how did you feel after last night? A 9-0 win, and what hope do you think we can take from the victory last night?
I was actually working for the game, so when we do match coverage, we try and update the website with each goal. So I had to go back and watch the game again, and there was a lot of things that I missed live because I was busy. It was crazy. I was sweating at full time, but it was just non-stop. It was, look, I love seeing United stick the knife in. Too many games I watch, I think, were too nice. I think too many players are too nice. But last night that wasn't the case, and they smelled blood and they just pushed on. You've seen where when Daniel James got the 9th goal, Scott McTominay screaming at him, asking him to grab the goal or grab the ball and go grab another one. There's only seconds left on the clock, and I think that's something that I'm hoping is being embedded into this side, that they're reckless and that they're nasty. I think when Jose Mourinho came in, he knew that the squad was too nice, and he tried to make them. I think what he likes is a team of old bastards, but they never played that way. They didn't play with that arrogance, and it's something Paul Pogba spoke about a few weeks ago. This team needs to show more arrogance. They did that last night. They just didn't show Southampton any respect. They never stopped, and I thought it was brilliant from the get-go.
100%. I'd echo those words, as I'm sure most Man United fans would do. And Daniel, just quickly over to you. 9-0, as we said, it's history. It's a historic moment. It's history equaling. It's going to be an equaling record in itself, and it's going to stand for so long potentially, unless we can go and do a 10-0 over Everton, which I'd absolutely love. But it doesn't happen every day. Also there was another tweet that I didn't read out, but United scored 5+ goals twice under Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho combined. We scored 5+ goals on 8 occasions under Ollie. Although that 9-0 is a freak result, it's a positive win, isn't it? It shows improvement in itself in how we approach the game and how our forwards were relentless.
Absolutely. Yeah, ruthless. It's all about being ruthless as a footballer, to win leagues, win titles. I mean, those 9 goals, an extra 3 or 4 goals that we scored could be the difference between finishing 2nd and 3rd or 1st and 4th, whatever it may be. Goal difference is key as well. So the fact that Ollie showed no mercy almost, and the players on the pitch were just ruthless and just didn't give up, it says a lot, and it shows United are going back to where they used to be.
Daniel, I think I can speak on behalf of myself now and everyone watching. It's been a joy having your company today. Thank you so much for giving us such a unique view from a player's eye as well on decisions and on the game, and it's great to hear that from you. So thank you so much for coming on today, Daniel, and taking the time out. Dale, as ever, thank you. You're going to be back with me next Wednesday. I don't know why you agreed to do this with me weekly. I mean, it's more for you, really. It must show that he likes me just a little bit. Guys, make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/AllForUnited. If you want to get this show in podcast format, make sure you go and follow us on your podcast platform of choice. Just search All for United Daily in your search bar. I'm going to get out of here. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. And get in there, United. What a result that was last night.